Responsibility often feels heavier than poverty, not because poverty is easy, but because responsibility removes distance. In struggle, there's space between your choices and the outcome. In responsibility, that space disappears. And for the human mind, that closeness is more frightening than being broke. The weight of ownership, why we avoid the lives we want. The paradox of the heavy burden. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with physical labor. You see it in the eyes of people who have made it, and you see its absence in those who are perpetually almost there. Most people believe that the hardest part of life is the struggle to survive, the grit required to navigate poverty or chaos. But there is a psychological weight that sits even heavier than hardship. It is the weight of responsibility. We often assume that moving from a life of struggle to a life of stability is a relief. We think of it as shedding a heavy coat. But for the human psyche, responsibility isn't the removal of weight, it is the removal of distance. In struggle, there's a gap between your choices and your outcomes. In responsibility, that gap vanishes. And for the average mind, that proximity is more terrifying than being broke.
Section 1. The safety of the struggle. We don't talk about the comfort of crisis. When life is hard but predictable, the mind adapts. It builds a shell. When you are navigating external hardship, whether it's a bad economy, a difficult upbringing, or systemic obstacles, your nervous system actually finds a strange form of rest. Why? Because there is always something to blame. If you fail while the world is against you, the failure belongs to the world. The brain finds a profound, quiet comfort in that externalization. It preserves the ego. It says, I could have been great if only the circumstances were different. Responsibility, however, is a vacuum. It removes the excuses. It strips away the noise of the outside world and leaves you standing alone with your decisions. When outcomes become personal, the nervous system doesn't relax, it tenses. The human brain was designed for survival, not for the constant naked exposure of full accountability. Section 2. Why stability feels like a threat. To the logical mind, poverty is a problem to be solved, but to the subconscious, responsibility is a threat to be avoided. Poverty is painful, but it is familiar. Responsibility is uncertain, and in the architecture of the human brain, uncertainty triggers the same neural pathways as physical danger. When you carry the weight of a stable, responsible life, expectations multiply. You are no longer reacting to the fires that life throws at you. You are the one holding the matches. You are shaping your reality. This shift creates a psychological identity cost. If you fail while struggling, it's a tragedy. If you fail while you are in control, it's a definition of who you are. This is why we see so many people engage in upper limit problems. They sabotage their progress just as things are starting to get good.
They aren't afraid of failing, they are afraid of the buffer of bad luck being taken away. Section 3. The invisible demands of the calm. We tend to measure hardship by what we can see: sweat, long hours, physical fatigue, but the demands of a responsible, stable life are largely invisible. Responsibility requires constant, high-stakes decision-making, the emotional regulation to delay gratification for years, not days, the ability to hold uncertainty without collapsing into distraction. From the outside, a stable life looks light. It looks like quiet mornings and organized desks. But from the inside, responsibility never turns off. Physical hardship exhausts the body, and the body can sleep. Responsibility exhausts the mind, and the mind often stays awake, calculating the cost of every move. This is the symmetry of terror. If the success is yours, the failure is yours too. There is no longer an emotional escape hatch. Section 4. The almost better trap. There is a specific psychological state where many people spend their entire lives, the state of being almost better. These are the people who are always one step away from the promotion, 1 month away from the savings goal, one conversation away from the healthy relationship. On the surface, they seem motivated, but look closer and you'll see a pattern of staying in a state of controlled struggle. They stay there because partial struggle allows for emotional escape. As long as you're still fighting the good fight, you don't have to face the terrifying silence of having no one to blame but yourself. True responsibility demands internal stability rather than external effort. It requires you to act without immediate validation. It requires you to sit with your own reflection and realize that the only thing standing between you and your potential isn't a lack of opportunity, it's the fear of what happens when you finally have it. The silent wait. Poverty strains the survival instincts. Responsibility tests the identity. One hurts loudly, with bills, hunger, and noise. The other weighs silently, with the pressure of ownership and the removal of the unfortunate label. We often wonder why people stay in situations that look harder from the outside. We judge them for not choosing better, but we fail to realize that for many, the hard life is the safer one. Ownership changes everything. It changes how you see your past, and more importantly, it changes how you're forced to view your future. It is the ultimate test of human character, not what you can endure when you have no choice, but who you become when you have every choice in the world. The most difficult thing a human can carry isn't an empty pocket. It's the realization that the life they have is exactly the one they've authored.